Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we got this Allis Chalmers WD45 here. We're going to be doing some carburetor work on it today and some sediment bowl work to hopefully get this thing running. Our first step is to get the carburetor off. The only thing you'll need are needle nose pliers and a 1/2 inch wrench and a 9/16 or 5/8 wrench. We got this off already, so let's go ahead and get this off. We're going to go ahead and disassemble it on the bench. We aren't getting fuel up to the manifold, so there's obviously a problem here. So let's get it apart, let's get it disassembled, let's get it cleaned. Here we go. Here it is. Almost dropped it. Marvel Shebler carburetor. Let's go ahead and take it to the table and we'll get it disassembled. Alright, so we're going to be rebuilding this Marvel Shebler 226-269 carburetor. I got a couple other ones in case I need any parts. We're going to go and start by taking this off. We're going to have gas obviously spilling out. Give me a rag real quick. So we're going to clean up some of that. So we'll keep the gasket over here. Looks like it's copper. We're going to go ahead and take out these screws. Here's the model of the carburetor. I get this off. It is a Marvel Shebler TSX561. So my bad. This is the model. Made in USA. So if you're ever going to rebuild one, here's what you need. Let's get the rest of these screws out. Just like that. Keep all these screws up in here. Alright, now the top should come off. Usually what works good for these, get them apart, is to hit them a little bit with the rubber mallet. Just like that. Looks like our gasket broke. Yeah, this is some stinky gas, that I'll tell you. We're going to go ahead and start with getting the float off. That's pretty easy. Just pull this pin here, set that aside, pull your float off, and then tilt this over, and your needle should come out. This Venturi also fell out, no big deal. That just goes back in just like that. But for our sake, we'll take it out as well. Now all that we got left on the top is the inlet port, the needle seat, and obviously the gasket, which we ruined. And then there is a little jet right down in there we're gonna have to get out and clean. So finish up the top. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of this gasket off. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is get a little pair of adjustable wrench. We're going to try to get this off. Just like that. Remember, it was pointing exactly toward the 90-degree mark. Get this off and we'll see what kind of crud we got going inside. And we'll clean all this stuff up. So here's the intake. Not too bad. We'll clean it up though. Set that aside. We're going to leave the seat in. We're not essentially completely rebuilding this thing. We're just cleaning it. We just had a problem with it getting up to the intake. So we're going to get this nozzle out. There it is. We'll clean that thoroughly. So now we want to take this adjustment out. To do that, we're going to turn it all the way in. See how many turns it goes. There's half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. So we're about 3 turns out, so let's unscrew this whole thing out now. A little over 3 turns, so we maybe go 3 1/4 out. And then we're obviously going to have to adjust this on the machine. There it is. There's one of the adjustment needles. So top, I would say, is pretty well completed. I'm going to throw this in the parts wall. Actually, I'll probably sandblast this. So now we got the bottom. Bottom's got a few other parts and pieces, and you can kind of see has been a little bit of gunkiness down in there before. So first thing I'm going to try to do is attempt to get most of this gasket off without breaking it. I'm not going to reuse it, but it just helps in the long run. Just like that. We'll set that here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is we're going to start at the bottom. There's a little bit of a needle down in that bottom down there. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's down there. So I'm going to go ahead and unscrew that. Just like that. So here it is. Another little guy, and that one for sure is plugged. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's jam-packed with gunk. So set that aside. Okay, so we got that bottom at least completed. Now what I'm going to do is take out this bottom adjustment needle here. We're going to go ahead and see how many turns it is in. So we're pointing that way. There's a half. There's 1, 1.5. So we were about 1 3/4 out. We will adjust this 1 3/4 when we get back to it. So let's go ahead and take this off now, and we'll clean all this up. And this just controls the amount of fuel going up into the intake. As you can see, it can be heavily adjusted, but full of gunk. Absolutely full. We're going to get this guy off. It's already loose. So we got that off. We'll clean that up. Set that aside. Now we're going to need a 9/16 wrench. Go ahead and get this bottom off like that. And as you can see, it's pretty plugged, pretty dirty. So we'll clean everything up. Probably put a nice brand new copper washer on there. So just don't want this thing to leak either. Alright, so there's the bottom plug. And you guys can kind of tell, pretty gunky. So we're going to go ahead and clean up this carburetor, get it nice and clean, sandblast it. So we'll catch up with you guys after I get this thing cleaned. About a week and a half ago is when I last was working on this carburetor. We had Thanksgiving and we were waiting for the gasket kit. So I just got done cleaning the bottom and the top. I sandblasted everything. So we're going to go ahead and assemble this carburetor back together. I'm going to start with the bottom. And let's see here, I kind of already started it. I was trying to remember everything I did because I did this so long ago. So I'm going to go ahead and put this petcock in. Get some thread tape. Okay, there we go. Now we got the thread tape on the right way. Go ahead and screw that in. tighten this up with the 7/16 wrench. Alright, we're going to go ahead and tighten this with a 7/16 wrench. Just like that. So that's tight. And then you want to make sure that this is screwed all the way out. Just like that. Now we're going to go ahead and put in our adjustment, fuel adjustment. I got it in 2 pieces here. So you can see I cleaned this, and I cleaned this off really good. So we're going to go ahead and put this in. This piece goes in first, and you can see there's a copper washer on there. We're going to leave that. Looks in good condition. So first thing we'll do is we'll thread this back in. Just like that. And that looks like a 9/16. Yep. So we'll screw that in. Just like that. That doesn't need any thread tape. That had that copper washer on it. Now we're going to set this in. And this will thread all the way down in the hole. Just like so, and you want to be careful not to cross thread it. And I know I set all the adjustments when I took this apart, but what we're going to do is we're going to take this thing all the way in. We're all the way in. We're going to go out 1.5 turns just to preset the settings, and then we'll go from there when it's on the tractor. So we'll go out. There's half. There's 1. There's 1.5. So we're out 1.5. We can always adjust that on the tractor. Makes life a little easier for when we're working on stuff. Now, you can see down in the hole there, get a light for you guys. So down in that hole, got to put another little piece in, little brass thing. Alright guys, so what we're going to do is put this down in the bottom. You want to make sure that it's this one. This one has a bigger hole in it. This one has a smaller hole in it. And this one here goes to the top of the carburetor. So let's go ahead and get a screwdriver. Okay, so we got it started down in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten it up. Want to make sure not to go too tight. It's all brass. So there it is down there. So we're pretty set now for the bottom. So set the bottom aside. Now what we're going to do is start with the top. And we're going to go ahead and do another one of these small ones just so we can get it out of the way. So once again, this one we're probably just going to have to set in there like so. We'll screw that in like so. So there's that one, and right there is in. Okay, so once that's in, we're going to go up here. And you're going to see this hole here. We're going to go ahead, stick this in, like so. Get a screwdriver, we're going to bottom this guy all the way out. Just like that. Now, just as a baseline, just like I did the other nozzle, we're going to go out 1.5 turns as a baseline. We'll adjust on the tractor. So, half, 1, 1.5. Probably going to have to adjust it, but just, you know, just so we're all good to go. So what I messed up on was I forgot about this little piece here. So I put that in. It's just a 5/16 little brass thing. We're going to go all the way in with this nozzle again. Just like that. Half, 1, 1.5. Because I was wondering why it was sticking straight in. Now we're kind of angled the right way. So bottom's good again. Kind of screwed up a little bit, but that happens. So I'm deciding whether or not probably use this old brass one. Okay, so the next step now is to get into our carburetor gasket set, because when we took our old one off, like I said before, she ripped. So here's the new gasket. Here's the old. Definitely a difference if you're asking me. Okay, so what we're gonna have to do now is kind of just do a little bit of a dry run here. I'm gonna have to, yeah, so the gasket definitely has to go on first, and then, okay, so before you even put the float on, make sure you put your venturi in. It just goes right in there, and this part here will eventually sit in this notch down here. So we'll set that in. Then the next thing we're gonna do is set the gasket on, just like that. So the gasket's on. Now we're gonna put our needle back in. Needle faces straight down. Now we're going to put our float on. It was all good to go. So there's the gasket on. So now what we're going to do is we are going to set the bottom slowly on, because we want to get the venturi to set too. And there we go. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is screw this guy back together. Got all my screws here. I'm going to start 2 of them. Just kind of get them lined up. Start another one. And then in this corner here, we're going to put the tag. Screw it back into the tag. Okay. So go ahead and screw the tag back on. Just like that. Then we got our final screw here. We'll screw the final guy in. Okay, we'll screw all these in tight now. Okay, so there they are. They're all tight. And one easy way to check to see if your venturi sat and is in the right angle and spot is you open the throttle manually, and you will just be able to look down there with a light and see that the venturi has seated. So we're all good to go. So there's the carburetor. Like I said, it's a TSX 561. We just cleaned this bad boy up. We're going to go ahead and set it on the tractor. We'll see what happens. Like I said, we're going to do this on the tractor as well with thread tape. So let's go ahead and get this on the tractor. Go on. But everything's hooked up. Got new cotter keys on. The next thing I'm going to do is put the new fuel line thing on. Not thing, the fuel line hose adapter will go about there. And then I have to put a sediment bowl on this thing. It was, I mean, when we brought it in, we took it off. It had soap. It was completely, there was about an inch of junk in the bottom of the tank that was like concrete. So we're going to put a new sediment bowl on this thing as well. So I'm going to get this on, and then this hooked up, and then the sediment bowl on. So those will be our next few steps. Is it on? Alright, let's see if it fires up. these on. We're out of gear. Probably gonna need some chokes. Alright guys, we're going to go ahead and take this thing outside and we're going to test all the gears and put it in the picture area and give you a couple highlights of it, and let's start it up and let's go for a little ride. There's second gear. It's kind of a crummy day out, but brakes work good. Here's third gear. The engine sounds really strong. Alright, let's try fourth gear. Here's fourth gear. Needs a little choke to get going. Nope. Alright, so problem was I didn't have any gas in it. That's kind of a problem when you're trying to run. So let's try fourth gear again. There we go. All right, so we know she works. Put her back into third. Pretty good tractor. Pretty good running tractor. PTO works, hydraulics work. Go and look at the serial number. Can only make a few out, but I'll figure the year out of this thing. But kind of a grubby day out. Here's the WD45. Going to be up on for sale now. If you're interested in this tractor, contact me and figure something out. But not too bad for a good tractor like this WD45, and it's got good tires on it. So if you're interested, let me know. Not bad for an old WD45. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe.